basis. In fact, I subsequently got married in 1984, and I had my honeymoon here. I never sold any house, of course, as was stated there. I wrote what Frank told me to write 42 years ago. And after that, I can't recall what happened about the matter, but I'd never seen, and I don't recall having met this fellow Waterson. If I met him, I don't recall meeting him. It's not a name that I know.
He says your handwritten letter appears to be addressed to him, although he's not mentioned in the handwritten letter, because he then references that he met with you in the UK in an ex-serviceman club with Mr. Frank Martin about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't recall that. Frank Martin was definitely a member of my club. Frank Martin was in a prisoner of war camp with my late father. And
Honorable Novalo.
No, thanks, Chair. I couldn't hear properly. You spoke about Colleen of the MK party. I just missed that part. If you can explain what he meant.
He says the letter that is being referred to was posted on social media by a certain Miss Colleen Makubela from the MKP.
Okay. Okay.
Along with a lot of defamatory comments.
Along with a lot of defamatory comments. Can we proceed? Okay.
So can we accept that this letter that was addressed by Mr. Watterson to the DG then of Internal Affairs in 1982, it appears to be an authentic letter?
It certainly appears to be, but as I've said, the first time I've seen that letter, I think it was either last week or the week before, when somebody forwarded to me and showed me the post on whatever it is, either Facebook or TokTik or what's this other one called? Twitter. It was on one of these, and the person, it may be somebody that's not Colleen Makubela, but the person that appeared to have been posting it was using the name Colleen or Colleen Makubela from the MKP, and stating that I can't remember the defamatory words now, but you know, this is a racist pig and he needs to go or something like that. I can't remember the word.
Okay, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm sure the honorable members from the MKP will ask you about that. What I want to know is whether following Watterson MP's letter to the then Director General of what was Internal Affairs, we regarded then as notorious, but he writes to him and he says that your visitor's permit was expiring at the end of January 1983. The letter is written in November 1982, essentially seeking a favor to either extend your visitor's permit or in fact requesting that one can infer from the letter, be accorded some permanent status. So my question to you is, after you wrote the letter in November 1982, on the 20th of November, it looks like to Mr. Watterson, did your status change after January 1983?
No, in fact, Chairman, I was if I recall correctly, I was on a vacation in November in South Africa. I wasn't here until January the next year. And I met with Frank Martin, who I knew, because as I previously stated, he was in a prisoner of war camp with my late father. And we used to call him Uncle Frank because we were children when he used to visit. And while I was on vacation in 1982, he said there was some position, a very important position for me in the building services or whatever department or something like that in the Natal province. And I could get a good job. And would I like the job? And, you know, I was 20 something years old. It sounded like a good idea at the time. I said, yeah, it'll be all right. But I mean, I have a tourist permit, you know, they call it a visitor's permit.
But
And
why do you record in your letter that you are in a predicament and can think of no one else to turn to?
so I
If you were on a visitor's permit, which was now going to expire in January 83, then presumably you would just leave before the visitor's permit expires and you go back to the UK or Ireland.
in fact, I
You-
spent 3 weeks there, not 3 months. But when you enter the country, and it's still the case today, you're given a visitor's permit for 90 days. So I came here for holiday. You get a visitor's permit for 90 days. I met with Frank in Durban, and Frank offered me a position. Actually, I didn't meet him in Durban. I met him in Pietermaritzburg. And he offered me a position, an engineering job, and it would be good pay. And I said, yeah, but I don't have a work permit or anything like that. He said, oh, I filled in these forms. He filled them in for me. He said, just sign this and here, write the letter in your own handwriting. And he told me what to write, so I wrote it. And as I say, it's 42 years ago. I can't even remember. I would have completely forgotten about it if somebody hadn't have sent it to me last week.
Well, did you forget, you forgot to mention it in your evidence and in your affidavit? Didn't you think it was material?
No, I didn't think it was material.
You worked here according to your own letter. You had obtained a work permit without any bother. And you foolishly assumed, I'm reading from your letter, that the same would apply on this occasion. You were offered good employment by Mr. Jim Powell, whom you knew from the UK. You sold your house in London with the intention of settling here. Now you write and you say you're in a predicament because you're sitting with a visitor's permit and you had intention of going back.
Chairman, as I said, I came on holiday. I just wrote what Frank suggested I should write. I cannot remember now what happened 42 years ago. But, you know, I wrote what Frank suggested I should write and I gave it to him. I didn't send it anywhere. He handled it. And this letter that's attached to it, I see it for the first time.
But this seems to be your predicament recorded in your own letter.
So I wrote what
Yes,
Frank
let's
suggested
quote
I write.
from your letter. Alas, though my work permit was refused, and without a work permit, I cannot start work and apply for permanent residence.
I don't.
So this is the predicament you say, because this puts me in a bit of a quandary, as I want to stay in this country, which I love so much, and I believe is one of the few countries in the world that is not riddled with communist-inspired unions and what is it? Yeah, and then you go on to say that this is a good Christian country. So this is an appeal to a politician to help you to obtain a work permit and permanent residence. This is not a casual visitor who's coming here, the visitor's permit expires and now you know you must leave the country.
I left the country before that letter even was typed, because I was in Durban. I'd had 2 weeks holiday, I had another week to go, I think. And Frank suggested, I can get you a job here, you can become a resident here and whatnot. And it sounded like a good idea at the time. I was, as I said, I was 20-something years old. I'm 70 now, so he did the forms and he suggested I write the letter. He told me what to write and he said, I'll handle it. Off you go back. We didn't have mobile phones and stuff then. I never heard from him again. In fact, I heard from him again, I think 2-3 months later. And he said, no, that position was filled by somebody else. So it's a, what do you call it? Storm in a teacup. And it was 42 years ago. But there's absolutely, and I mean, I've just read again now that handwritten letter. It says,
So what are you saying, that you were not in fact in a predicament or in a quandary?
not in a
You
predicament.
wrote what he told you to.
Yes, at the time I was fully employed.
So you wrote an untruth in a letter addressed to the Director General of this country in 1982 in order to influence that Director General to issue you either with a work permit or permanent residence.
Well, I won't say it would untruth. Frank said, if you write this letter.
Well,
and we-
why is it not an untruth?
Well, I suppose
When you now say 50 years later,
it would have
that-
been a predicament, I suppose, if I was given the job, but I wasn't given the job. So it became a non-event. But in the 20s, you'll do things that perhaps you wouldn't do. when
well,
you
it would have
become
been
more mature.
it's a pity that you give this explanation, the extent to which I don't know whether it will persuade anybody, but it's because I disclose this letter to you and I can assure you that I'm not on social media. I didn't pull it from social media, neither did any of my colleagues. I mean, we get this information on good authority. And you didn't disclose it in your affidavit. I know that my colleague, Advocate Mkhize, did raise it with you. So, you raised it with her and said that this has now been brought to my attention.
That's correct.
Yes.
I brought it to her attention last week when it was brought to my attention.
Yeah.
On
Sunday.
Yeah, and I finalized my affidavit, I think on Friday or Saturday. So it was brought to my attention. I said, but there's so much other stuff on social media. Why should we put all that in your affidavit? There's stuff on social media which is completely fake.
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan, I'm always pressed for time. So don't worry about social media. I want to ask about this letter, because you also write your work permit was refused. In other words, what I'm trying to understand, and you must please help us, is that this is not some casual letter written by a 20-year-old on the advice or guidance of a more senior person, presumably Mr. Frank Martin, or an MP, to say, just write this down. This is serious. You say you had applied for a work permit, but it was refused. And now and your intention is not to holiday here. It is, and I'm paraphrasing your letter, it's to start work and to apply for permanent residence, and for the reasons that you've given. This is a Christian country, don't have these communist unions here. You like the people here. You even want to learn to speak Afrikaans.
Well, unfortunately, if you're offered an opportunity, I thought it would a good opportunity at the time, and I went along with it. The reality of it is, I don't remember getting a work permit or being refused a work permit. I never came to work here in pursuit of that. And I only later, in 1989, which was 7 years later, applied for a residence permit on the basis of being a person of independent means. So I didn't see it as being anything other than that.
Well, we now know from your evidence that we accept that these letters as authentic. Because you see, this changes the reasons why you came South Africa in 1989. The impression you create in your affidavit and the early part of your evidence is that, in fact, the market or the property market, I forget now, but you can correct me, in the UK had collapsed and you were looking for business opportunities and you came to South Africa in 1989. So the impression you create is that you're entirely disinterested in this country, other than this is an opportunity to invest and to make money. You said, no, of course, if you invest, you want to make money. But that's the extent of your interest. Now we read a letter that you wrote to a member of parliament to say, look, I'm in a predicament, I'm in a quandary. This is some 7 years before you eventually came here in 1989. And that you had already applied then for a work permit. You had already applied, and I'm paraphrasing from your letter, for a course in Afrikaans, as I want to completely integrate with the South African way of life. Do you accept that this puts a different narrative or background to why you entered South Africa in 1989?
No, I don't. And the reason for that, Chairman, I didn't just come here to invest and make money. I had been coming here every year for a holiday for many years. And I invested in property here before I took a decision to come and live here. I had already acquired property in 1987, but I didn't apply for permanent residence then. I bought another property in 1988. It was in 1989 that I decided, you know what, I like this country, we must go and live there. And then I applied, and my application was granted.
Yes, but let's deal with that. Is in 1989 and after that. Because unless, again, you were told to write this and you didn't really mean it, in other words, it's not true, you say, sir, and I quote from your letter, it would break my heart if I now have to return to the UK. You're actually desperate to stay here because, as you say, you're in a quandary, you're in a predicament. And then you go on to say, I beg you humbly to speak on my behalf to someone in a position to consider me as an immigrant. So in 1982, November, you expressed a desire. You pleaded, you want to stay here as an immigrant. You didn't want to return to the UK or to England.
It was probably an exaggeration. The reality of it is,
So you exaggerated.
in that
You
letter,
wrote some untruths.
I wouldn't say
You
it's untrue.
exaggerated.
I exaggerate.
Can we take Honorable Nomvalo?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, we just wanted to make a request on record that may the witness, even if it's during lunch or after hours, produce evidence showing that a member of parliament, Honorable Colleen, posted some defamatory something about him, because we stated on record that our member has never done that. She has never posted anything on any social media platform. But we request that you provide that proof to us, even if you can provide it after today's session. You can ask for your team, from your team, to look for it now.
Can I answer, Chairman?
Yes.
So, Chairman, I don't have social media. Somebody showed it to me on a phone. And looked to, I mean, from what I can remember, it showed the person as being Colleen Makubela. And that's why I can't remember if it was on Twitter or TokTik or whatever. I can't remember.
It's TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Somebody showed it to me. And yeah, I can't go back and look for something that I don't have.
The person is from the MKP.
And I think I pointed this out earlier, that it appeared to be a person called Colleen or Colin Makubela from the MK party. So yeah, if I can't find that, then I can't find it, but it appeared to me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do the best I can, but I don't have social media. So yeah.
Honorable Nomvalo, your question has been responded to.
No, unfortunately, Chair, he's not sure of what he's talking about. Then I think we are helpless under the circumstances because our member has never posted anything of that nature. Hence, we make a request that he provides proof to us. Because our member is even ready to depose to an affidavit. She has never posted anything of that
You
nature.
confirm to him that you have a member called Colin
We
Makubela.
do have a member called the former chief whip of the MK party. I think she's all known to us, but she has never posted anything of that nature. So I think it's wrong and unfair for the witness to say something that is untrue about her while she is not even here to respond for herself.
Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I guess this issue of casting aspersions without evidence, I always question witnesses. We had witnesses last week. When you ask for evidence, they are evasive. Now, Mr. O'Sullivan say he saw from someone on his phone. Now, it's a hearsay. You saw that alone. We want evidence here. Because now we are painting someone, and without any substantiated evidence to the honorable members here. We can't deal with gossip here. Thank you, Chair.
Can you just say you disagree with that statement and we move forward? Honorable Malem.
No, Chair. They're raising a serious issue. If the witness is not sure, instead of you asking them to say they disagree with the statement, you should ask the witness to withdraw that. Because he cannot just come here and then say thumbsuck things here. If he's not sure, the only way to close this matter is that he withdraws that and then we move forward. Because he's not sure if it's Honorable Colin who posted that. And to cast aspersion on our fellow member and then we just pass like that, it is unfair. So if the witness is not prepared to produce any evidence to that effect and is not sure, can we please request him to withdraw that allegation?
Chairman, I'm going to go back to the person that showed me and see if I can get a screen grab or something of that nature. And if I can't get that, I'll withdraw the statement I made. Is that acceptable?
No, the statement is withdrawn. What you are sharing with us now is information, it's not evidence.
Okay, the statement is withdrawn.
It
Chairman.
only becomes evidence when you can substantiate it. Advocate Arendse.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So, Mr. O'Sullivan, your application for a work permit had been refused.
I don't even remember.
Well, that's what
applying.
you say in your letter.
Yes, but I can't, we're talking about 42 years ago. I just can't remember. As good and everything as my memory is, I can't remember what happened 42 years ago.
And you, you had then given some details of yourself and copies of your